I don't know if you can tell from the mess behind me, but we've moved. Hi guys, I'm Anne-Marie and I'm with Mindjoy. And I'm moving, so I thought, why not do a video on change? And you'll have to forgive me, I'm using my windows for lighting. I don't have all my stuff unpacked, so we're gonna work with what we got. One thing that's constant in life is change. And yes, I may have just butchered a quote. It's something like that. But change is a part of life. And there's good change and there's bad change. There's change we can control and there's change that we can't. But did you know that our brain responds to all types of change in a very similar way? So I'm going to talk to you about some strategies to cope with change that'll help you navigate both the change you can control and the change you can't. So what happens to our brain when we go through change? Well, our basal ganglia is the part of our brain that's associated with what's familiar. It's associated with habit and routine. It's sort of our muscle memory of our brain. It takes very little energy because it's familiar. Our prefrontal cortex is sort of like our thinking part of our brain, which is associated with rationalization, observation, and learning new skills. And that part of our brain, as you could imagine, uses a lot more energy. And when change happens, our basal ganglia says, okay, prefrontal cortex, it's your turn. And it's more exhausting when that part of our brain has to take over. Our hippocampus is associated with comparison, and it looks at change and it says, have we been here before? How much of this is actually new? And if our brain decides we don't like this change, then our hypothalamus kicks in and it says, see ya, and the fight or flight response kicks in. If you want to know more about fight or flight, check out my video on anxiety and how to cope, because I go to a pretty in-depth discussion on fight or flight. All change causes stress on our brain and on our body, even good change. So whether you've been laid off at work or whether you're getting married, your body and your brain are responding very similarly, and it's exhausting. So let's talk about how to navigate change well, regardless of the type of change that you're going through. Number one, acknowledge the change. Acknowledge that change is difficult, even when it's good change. That's sort of a self-validation technique that will actually help you feel better right away. Number two, accept the change. Now, accept the change doesn't mean roll over and let life steamroll you. But as much as we push against and resist change, we're actually creating more stress and using more energy. But if we accept the change, we are actually in a place where we can now say, okay, I'm ready to start moving forward and we're better equipped to handle the change. Check your mindset. There are three types of mindsets associated with change. Think of change as a storm. So the first mindset says, I am a victim and I'm going to drown. The second mindset says, I'm a survivor and I don't know how, but I'm going to get through this storm and make it to the other side. Now, compared to the victim, the survivor is going to have a better outcome when it comes to change. But there's a third mindset that's even better. The third mindset is a navigator. A navigator says, well, I can't control the storm, but I can control my boat. So the navigator, like the survivor, has hope, but they also have a plan. So look at your mindset and be a navigator when it comes to change. And speaking of having a plan, that's my next tip. Have a plan when you're going through change. If it's change that you are in control of, let's say they're all big life decisions you are making, like getting married, buying a house, finding a new job. Those ones are for the most part within your control. So having a plan might mean try to limit the amount of changes you do at once, or try to spread them out. Because even with good change, we can go through something called change fatigue, which actually can result in slightly PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, type symptoms. When we are going through so much change, even when it's change we could control, we exhaust our brain, we exhaust our emotions, we exhaust our bodies, and you can be left with symptoms of burnout and similar to PTSD. So be planful about your change and try to spread them out. With all types of change, try to find an anchor. So that's back to the storm analogy. What is an anchor? It's something that provides us with stability. So when change is swirling all around you and it seems like you're losing control, an anchor can ground you. An anchor might be, maybe you get up every morning at 8 a.m. and you walk your dog. That's an anchor. Maybe every week you meet with a friend for coffee. That is also an anchor. Something that's predictable, familiar, and safe is going to help you navigate change well. The Chinese language is beautiful. 我会一点点汉语，我的汉语不好. I'm sure I slaughtered that. It's beautiful. And the characters are pictures. And the Chinese character for change is two parts, crisis and opportunity. Now, isn't that a perfect description of change? It feels like crisis, but there's also opportunity when change happens. So when you're going through change, look for opportunity, look for positives, look for things that can actually create new outcomes for you. In doing that, you're going to send your brain messages saying, we can do this. This is exciting. And change will suddenly become less stressful. And in that same line of thinking is looking for opportunity. Reframe. Reframing is one of my favorite coping techniques. Years ago, my agency went through an integration, and that was a very difficult and challenging change management process for everyone. It was a lot of work. Reframing was a big way that we got through it. So for example, one way to look at that change could have been, oh my goodness, I'm going to lose my job, or oh no, this is going to be so much work, or what's going to happen? Am I going to like my new boss? All those natural but negative thoughts can be very depleting. But if we reframe the situation, we can look at the exact same situation but give it a new outlook, a new frame. And we can say, we could take the best of what that agency has to offer and the best of what our agency has to offer, and we could actually grow as an agency. Maybe I will learn new skills. Maybe I'll meet new colleagues that I really like. Maybe I'm going to really like my new boss. If we reframe the situation, it's going to be less stressful and give us more hope, and we're going to navigate it better. Remember the Navigator mentality? Build in brain breaks. Change fatigue is a real thing. Your brain needs to rest because your prefrontal cortex is working overtime. You are on a steep learning curve and it's exhausting. So take brain breaks. Do things that are completely unrelated to the change. Do things that are fun, or just relax. Do mindfulness. Do prayer, deep breathing exercises. Give your brain a break. And my last tip, self-care. Watch your diet. During change, we tend to crave the carbs. Maybe I always crave carbs. Well, during change, we will crave them more. So watch your diet, eat healthy, exercise. And yes, I will say exercise when I'm talking in every single video because it is a natural antidepressant, it is a natural anti-anxiety, and it's just good for you. So exercise when you're going through change. Build in time for self-care. Do things you enjoy, do things that are fun, spend time with friends, and it will help you get through the change. It will help you get to the other side of that storm. The world is changing all around us and our lives are changing all the time. We're changing all the time, but change creates opportunity. Change makes us grow, and we can get through it to the other side of the storm. I hope this video is helpful. I wish you guys peace, happiness, and a life full of joy. Bye guys.